G'day, welcome back. My name's Brett. Today I just wanted to talk about how you go about getting your driver's licenses in Thailand, whether it be a car or a motorbike. First up, I would just like to say that depends on where you are in Thailand, or which province you are in Thailand, depends on what process you go through. I'll give you my experiences, but these will probably be totally different to others. I'm in the province of Tak, and I know that it's much different if you're in Chiang Mai or Pattaya. There are different ways of doing it. Now, from my experience, there's two ways of getting your licenses in Thailand. One is through the DLT, the Department of Land Transport, and the other is through a driving school. Ultimately, you have to end up going to transport to get the final license, but you can go through a driving school to do the theory and the practical. This costs a little bit more. I'll probably go into the costs a little bit later on, but firstly, I'll explain how I got my driver's license. Now, a lot of people said, oh, you don't need to get a Thai driver's license. You can drive here. If you get picked up, it's a 500 baht fine. You just pay the fine and away you go. But what people don't tell you is, though, if you have an accident or there's a problem, your insurance doesn't cover you. Whether that's travel insurance or private health insurance or whatever, or even your car or motorbike insurance, you're not covered. So my advice would be is to get the appropriate driving license. So I only had a car license when I was in Australia, but as I've mentioned in a previous video, before I left Australia, I got an international driver's license. Now, that was valid for 12 months, but what I found out was in Thailand, that's only recognised for 3 months. Same with I could drive on my Western Australian driver's licence, but only for 2 or 3 months. And then if you're on a long-term visa or you're here for a long time, you're actually expected to get a Thai licence. So what I did was I decided I needed to get a Thai driver's license for a car. Now, you'll hear different versions of this, but this is my version. I went along to the Department of Land Transport with my partner, who can speak Thai, and we asked, what exactly do you need to get my driver's license in Thailand? And they explained that what I needed was a medical certificate, and a copy of my passport, a copy of my international driver's license, and a copy of my Western Australian driver's license. So we went back got copies of all those documents, went back to Department of Land Transport. A lot of people say you need a certificate of residency. I didn't need to get a certificate of residency for this one. For the medical certificate, I went to a local clinic. I paid 100 baht, and I think anyone that's got a heartbeat, they'll give you a medical certificate. So I had that. I presented that with a copy of my passport, a copy of my driver's license in Western Australia, and a copy of my international driver's license. And all I had to do was a colour test, which was like a traffic light, red, yellow, green. They don't do it in that order. Like the top one isn't always red, the middle one always isn't yellow, and the bottom one isn't always green. So I've heard people say it's easy because you know which sequence they're in, but that's not how the test goes. The light can actually be at any position on the traffic light. But anyway, I did that. I presented all my documents. I think there was an application form that my Thai partner helped me with. It was just basic information, where I lived, etc., name, address, that sort of thing. And handed that over, handed over 105 baht, and went and had my photo taken. And I was presented with a temporary driver's license, which covered me for 2 years. So that's how I got my original driver's license. And that was at the Department of Land Transport. Now, I've only just recently renewed that, and to renew that to it's not a permanent license, but it's a 5-year license. All I had to do was present my another copy of my passport, another medical certificate, which was just another 100 baht from the local clinic, and I didn't even have to do another colour test. They just took another photo and paid the money, 105 baht, and I was then given what they call not a permanent, but a 5-year license. Now, with that license, depends on when your birthday is, it can almost be 6 years. I got mine in January, and my birthday's in December, so I had got 11 months extra. So that was pretty handy. So I don't have to worry about renewing that for another 6 years almost, or 5.5 years. Now, what I believe with the permanent license or the 5-year license, if you go overseas, you can actually apply for an international driver's license with that one. You can't get it with the 2-year temporary license. So anyway, that was my experience with my driver's license. However, my partner, I wanted her to get a driver's license as well. So her situation was a little bit different to mine. She went through a driving school locally here, and she had to do 2 days of practical and theory. And so the first day, I think, is just going through the theory questions. I think she did a little bit of a driving test just to show her proficiency with driving. The next day she went along, she actually sat a test, the theory test, and did a little driving test. And I think it was 4,000 baht she paid for that. Now, other driving schools around the country will probably be different to that, but for a car driving license, it was 4,000 baht. She passed the tests, they gave her a certificate, and she took that certificate to the Department of Land Transport, and they then issued her with a license. They took a photo and presented her with a 2-year temporary license. So that's the cars, okay. The motorbike, I went to the driving school, but at this particular driving school, they don't do motorbike licenses. So my only option was to go to the Department of Land Transport. Now, it was almost similar to the what my partner had done at the driving school. Okay, the first thing you do in the morning is you register and you give them a thumbprint, which becomes your sign-on, sign-off ability for different sections of the assessment process. So if you want to do the question section, you use your thumbprint, and then it records that it's you actually doing it. The second thing you need to do is the colour test again with the traffic light, which is the red, yellow, green, which is usually no problems. You then have to do a reaction test where there's a little box in front of you with a brake pedal. So the light is green, and as soon as the light turns to red, you have to react and hit the brake, and you have to do it within a certain time period. That's usually no problems. The last thing that you have to do is the depth perception test, where you have a little box about 2 or 3 meters away from you, and you have a cord that you hold onto, and you have to pull like this little peg type thing up level with another peg thing. I don't know what you'd call it, but it's for depth perception, so you have to bring it up and make it level. that's not too much of a problem. The first day I had to sit down and watch some videos. Funnily enough, the first one, it went for about an hour and a half, but it was all in Thai, so I didn't understand anything. But you have to sit through that. Then they took me into another room and there was an English speaking one. This is for the theory, this is for the questions and answers, the multiple choice test that you have to do when you're getting your licenses, whether it's a car or a motorbike. Did that the first day. The second day you come back, and in the morning you get there about 8 o'clock and you do a practical motorbike test. We had to bring our own motorbike. So we just did the practical test, got through that okay. A lot of people I've heard say there's a board that you have to ride down. I don't know how wide it is, but a lot of people have problems with that. But I've heard people say that you have to stay on it for 10 seconds, but I did it as fast as I could, so I didn't sort of lose my balance or anything, and I had no problems with that. And anyway, I passed the practical test. You then go and do your theory test. The theory test is based on the videos that you've watched. It's got all the road signs, the road rules, those sorts of things. I believe there's about 500 questions that they can pick from, but what they do is they pick out about 50, and you have to get at least 45 of those right. So luckily I got 48. So I then had passed the practical, I'd passed the theory. So you go to the main area, take another photo, and I was given a temporary motorbike license. For this motorbike license, I needed to have another medical. That was another 100 baht. And I also needed this time a certificate of residency, which I had obtained from the immigration department in Mae Sot, which is in the province of Tak. That cost me 1,000 baht. I actually got two for that 1,000 baht because I wanted to buy a motorbike and I wanted to get my license. So some dealers require, if you want to buy a motorbike, some dealers require you to have a license. So it all sort of matched in. The certificate of residency with immigration, you need to have a copy of your passport, a copy of your visa page, a couple of passport size photos, and basically you need proof of where you're living. So my partner did a TM30 for me a long time ago, and so I do my 90-day reports based on that TM30 for where I reside. So that was satisfactory for them to enable them to give me a certificate of residency. So I took that with my medical certificate, went to the Department of Land Transport, like I say, took a photo and was handed a 2-year temporary motorbike license. So it was all pretty straightforward, not too many problems. So like I say, it depends on where you are. What I suggest you do, go to the local Department of Land Transport office and ask them exactly what you need to do. That way you know what you need to get, what you need to do, and other than that, it's pretty straightforward. I will emphasise though the fact that if you do have an accident, having a license does help, especially if you have to go to hospital or whatever. If insurance doesn't cover you because you don't have a license, you could be up for a huge medical bill, or that's your personal, but if you've harmed someone else, you could be up for their cost as well. So I always have car insurance, and now I've got my motorbike license and my driver's license all sorted. So hopefully no accidents or no problems, but at least I know now that I'm covered. But like I say, there's two ways of doing it. through a driving school, which can be costly, up 4,000 or 5,000 baht, or you can do it directly with the Department of Land Transport, which the only hiccup I had with them is that you actually have to make an appointment. So you go in a queue and you may have to wait a week, 2 weeks before you actually get a slot where you can go in and do your tests, etc. Once you have your licenses or your license, you can download the DLT QR license app from either Play Store or Apple Store. It pays to have a Thai person with you if you can, because most of it's in Thai. But if you have a license with a QR code, you select the second option in the menu. You enter your ID or your passport number and an email twice. The OTP usually arrives within 1 minute. You enter the OTP into the box and press the button. Enter a passcode twice. You can then log in entering that passcode, and on the back of your license or licenses there is a QR code. You scan that and then your details of your car and motorcycle license are downloaded automatically. Okay, I'll leave it off there. I'll thank you for watching and say cheers. Bye.